Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivara Dhari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivara Dhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtadarashata Shri Srimad Divine Grace Abhay Srinaravindra Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramhamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtadarashata Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Ki Jai. Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna. I'd like to welcome everyone back after the 50th anniversary celebrations of Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. So for those of you who didn't know or who weren't here over the last week, we had thousands of devotees coming, a lot of special guests and a lot of different events and festivities that we did on each one of the 5 days. We had a really brilliant Pushpa Abhishek. I think for me personally, that was the highlight. Seeing for the first time ever, petals just thrown, and entirely covering the altar. So you can see this altar here. We had so many petals that literally it covered the entire altar. It was like a big mountain, and it was covering Radha Gopinath right up to the top of the head. Right up to the top of the head. So we had like 6 big troughs of flower petals, which took hours and hours, a lot of devotees, a lot of volunteers to take all the petals off the flowers and all that. And then the pujaris afterwards threw all the petals outside here into the temple room. And you couldn't really see it on Mayapur TV. But if you were here, because Mayapur TV was just focused on Radha Gopinath, But then afterwards we had a war, the devotees had a war, they were picking up all the petals and throwing it on each other. So it was really nice, transcendental fun, throwing Radha Gopinath's Mahaprasad on each other, so it was really ecstatic. So we are continuing with the discussion on the qualities of Sri Krishna, and the book that I am referring from is Srila Prabhupada's summary study of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, originally written by Rupa Goswami, and it's called The Nectar of Devotion. So if you don't have a copy, then I really encourage you to please do get a copy. You can ask me after the class if you don't have one, or we have a book table outside. We've got a lot of copies in the shed, so please make sure you do get a copy for yourself. And I think this is the fifth session that we're discussing about the qualities of Krishna. Actually, you can keep on discussing each quality. You can have a class on each one of the 64 qualities. But we have many different topics to discuss, so I'll try to finish today, but I can't guarantee. So in total there's 64 qualities that Krishna has, but broadly speaking, these can be summarized in terms of six qualities. Right, so Krishna has unlimited beauty, unlimited wealth, unlimited strength, unlimited fame, unlimited wisdom, and unlimited renunciation. Now, all of us have these qualities as well, but to a very minute degree, whereas Krishna has these qualities to an unlimited degree. Now, Rupa Goswami, what he's done is he's actually broken down these 6 qualities into more specific categories. And that's what we're discussing here as the 64 qualities. So we've already discussed the first 50. It's broken down into different ways, these 64 qualities, and I'll just summarize that. We've already spoken about it before. But the first 50 qualities are qualities that obviously Krishna has in completeness, but we as individual souls also have these 50 qualities. And I'll just read some of these qualities out just really quickly. Just give me a sec. Okay, so for example, Krishna is effulgent, strong, fluent. Krishna is expert, grateful, genius, artistic, an expert judge of time and circumstances, self-controlled, pure, like that. So we also have these qualities, but to a very minute degree. Then from quality 51 to 55, does anyone remember? Do you remember what it was, 51 to 55? Yes, so changeless and all cognizant, that's 51 and 52. But quality 51 to 55 are qualities which not only Krishna has, but also very esteemed and powerful controllers within this universe, such as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Okay, so the Jivas don't have these qualities from 51 to 55, but exceptional, powerful personalities in the universe like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, they have. And then from 56 to 60 are qualities which only Krishna and Narayan possess. So Narayan, as you know, is the expansion of Krishna, who governs and controls Vaikuntha, which is the spiritual world. Not the topmost planetary system in the spiritual world, which is known as Goloka Vrindavan. That's exclusively Krishna's planet. But Narayan, he stays on the innumerable other spiritual planets below Krishna's planet in the spiritual world. So he has qualities from 56 to 60. And then Krishna only possesses 4 qualities from 61 to 64. So these are exclusively Krishna's qualities. And we've discussed the first 50, and we've also, in the last class, we got from 51 to 53. And as Prabhu mentioned, so quality 51, so remember 51 to 55 are qualities which Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva have. So quality 51 was changeless, So I think I remember I was mentioning that when Krishna was fighting he wasn't fighting, but he was the chariot driver for Arjuna in the Kurukshetra battle, which went for 18 days. He was a charioteer. And at that time, by material calculations, Krishna was, does anyone know how old Krishna was by material calculations that time? Any idea? He was about 90 years old. But if you see pictures of Krishna on the Bhagavad Gita when he's imparting knowledge to Arjuna, you won't see that he's actually 90 years old. He looks ever youthful. That's why Krishna is known as Nava Yovanam. He's eternally and ever fresh youth, right? Krishna doesn't age, Krishna's body doesn't age beyond the age of 16. So Krishna is changeless. Then quality 52 was all cognizant. What does cognizance mean? Cognizance means the ability to understand something. So Krishna is all cognizant. That means he understands everything. And one way we can understand that is that Krishna is the Paramatma. Krishna is the super soul within everyone's heart, and we'll discuss a little bit about that later on in the class. But the example, the specific example that Srila Prabhupada is quoting in the Nectar of Devotion for all cognizance is the example where Durvasa Muni, him and his 10,000 disciples embark to take lunch at the little village hut of the Pandavas in the middle of a forest. And they were inspired, or let's say instigated by Duryodhana to do so, because Duryodhana and, as you know, the Pandavas, they had a feud since childhood. And Duryodhana said, yes, please go and take your 10,000 disciples along with yourself and take lunch at the house of the Pandavas. This is where they're staying. And Duryodhana was really cheeky. He timed it in such a way that he knew that the Pandavas would have finished their lunch. Right? As you know, Pandavas, they had the Akshaya Patra. Kshaya means that which finishes. Akshaya means that which never finishes. Patra means like a pot. So they were given this pot, this special pot, which could produce, unlimited quantities of food. However, the Pandavas would first eat. And after they finish eating, then their wife Draupadi, she would take the remnants. But after she would take, then the pot would stop producing. So she had just taken the last remnants of the food, and so there was there was nothing in the pot left, except for, some say there was a grain of rice. Srila Prabhupada mentions here that there was a little vegetable preparation that was like a little tiny bit of broccoli or something, I don't know, left in the bottom of the pot. So what happened is that Krishna appeared on the scene because Draupadi and the Pandavas, they were a bit they were sort of freaking out. What's going to happen? How are we going to take care of Durvasa Muni? Because as you know, Durvasa Muni, he's very angry. He gets really angry too quickly. That's one bad quality of Durvasa Muni, I guess you could say. There's 3 gates Krishna mentions to hell. Lust, anger, and greed. These are the 3 gateways to hell. Lust, anger, and greed. So Durvasa Muni, he was very prone to get angry. So Krishna appears on the scene because Krishna is all cognizance. He knows what's happening everywhere and in everyone's heart. So he asks Draupadi for that little vegetable preparation which is just left, that little morsel of food, and he takes that. And meanwhile, Durvasa Muni and his 10,000 disciples, they're in the bank of a river chanting their Gayatri. And all of a sudden when Krishna takes that little piece of food, because Krishna is, the source of everyone. If Krishna is satisfied, then everyone is satisfied. Yasmin tushte jagat tushta. If Krishna is satisfied, then everyone is satisfied. In the Srimad-Bhagavatam, the example is given of a tree. Right? If you want to satisfy a tree, all the leaves and the twigs and the branches, then where do you water? Okay, yes, you water the roots. He's very attentive. I saw him last time. A very attentive listener. That's good. So yes, you water the roots, and then everything else is satisfied. So some people have this concept that Manava Seva is Madhava Seva. You've heard of this? Manava means mankind. So service to mankind is service to God. Srila Prabhupada gives a more complete definition or explanation of this. Actually, the understanding is that Madhava Seva is Manava Seva. Because ultimately, if you want to help mankind in this material world, you have to tell them about Krishna consciousness. You have to tell them very basically, and Krishna does this at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita when he tells Arjuna, Dehinosminyata de kaumaram yovanam jara. You're not your material body, you're the spirit soul. And therefore you should be acting on that platform. Because you're thinking you're the body, you're looking for happiness and satisfaction on the material platform. And that doesn't actually bring satisfaction for the soul. It's like a fish. If you take the fish out of the water and you take it on a ride in a Rolls Royce, or you cook a 10-course meal for the fish, then no matter what you do, the fish is not going to be happy because constitutionally it's outside of its natural environment. So we are spiritual living entities, but constitutionally, so we're spiritual, but we're outside of our natural environment. We're covered up with a material body. And the influence of the false ego makes us think that we are this body. So bhakti yoga, especially chanting Hare Krishna, it dissolves the false ego. There's a verse like that in the 6th canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. So yes, so these disciples of Durvasa, they were satisfied, and then they got scared that if they went to the house of the Pandavas and they were fed lunch, that they wouldn't be able to eat. So they just avoided the whole situation. They didn't go. So Krishna is all cognizant. Krishna is ever fresh. I remember saying that Krishna's name is ever fresh. What was your name again, sir? Prakash. Yes, I used you last time. So the sweetest sound to anyone's ears is the sound of their own name. But we can't say our name for a very long time. It gets boring. It gets very hackneyed. That's the case with material sound. But Krishna or Rama or even Om, which is an impersonal way to call Krishna. Krishna mentions that in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. These are all spiritual sound vibrations. They're called mantras. Man means the mind, and tra comes from the Sanskrit word trayate, which means to deliver. So that sound vibration which delivers and frees the mind from material conditioning is known as a mantra. So if you chant mantras, the special qualification for spiritual sound, as is mentioned in this quality 53, ever fresh, is that the sound vibration is also ever fresh. That means the more you keep saying Krishna, 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 you won't get bored of it. You can try it as an experiment. Keep saying Krishna, 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 and you won't get bored. I was just reading the Srimad-Bhagavatam yesterday, and there Srila Prabhupada was quoting a verse from the Mahabharata. And this particular verse from the Mahabharata is actually defining what the word Krishna means. And it's divided into two parts, Krish and Na. So Krish means attraction, and Na means spiritual existence. So our whole situation, the situation of the soul, is a spiritual situation, and it's based on attraction to Krishna. There are some philosophers who say that ultimately when we become liberated from this material body, from all material designations, then what happens to us is that we merge into some impersonal spiritual light. They call it Brahma Jyoti. They're known as the impersonalists. But there's the personalist philosophers, and that is the Vaishnava philosophers, those who are following Krishna consciousness. They explain that ultimately Krishna is a person, and we are persons. And wherever there's person, there must be name, right? All of us, we have names. We all have forms. We all have relatives. We all perform activities. We all have residences. So because Krishna is the ultimate perfection of spiritual life, bhakti yoga, the ultimate destination and shelter of the soul, Krishna must therefore also be living in a spiritual world, surrounded by many associates. Krishna has his name, like that. So the personalist view of the ultimate perfection of spiritual life is that we don't merge into some impersonal light, Brahma Jyoti. We don't lose our individuality. Krishna tells Arjuna in the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita that you see all these kings here who are standing on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. All these kings have existed separately as individuals in the past. They're existing as individuals currently on the battlefield, And even after they're killed, even after their bodies are killed on this battlefield, they'll still continue to remain as individuals. So this is our situation. So your situation right now is an individual soul. That's an eternal, permanent situation. You'll always remain as an individual. Why? You might ask, why? That's because Krishna wants us to have a loving relationship with him. And to love someone, there requires two. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you. So it requires two people, at least two people. Us and Krishna. So that is the quality number 53, ever fresh. And we're coming to quality 54, Sat Chit Ananda. Sat means eternal, Chit means full of knowledge, and Ananda means bliss. Now, look at our situation right now. Our bodies are made from not so good substances right now. Right? We sweat, we have to pass stool and urine, we have blood, organs, hair, nails, pus, all these very nice things in our bodies right now. But still, Maya, the trick of Maya is, even though the body is composed of all these things, we're still attracted. Right? If you just peel from your skin, if you just peel 1 millimeter of skin off your body will not look attractive anymore. It will look all pink because of the blood vessels underneath the skin. But just that little layer of skin on top, it makes the body look so attractive. Right? So our bodies are made from perishable substances, material elements, and as is mentioned in the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyakta nidanani eva tatra kapari devana. Krishna is telling Arjuna, everything in the material world has a beginning. It manifests for some time. And the nature of the material reality is that which is manifested becomes destroyed. Srila Prabhupada gives the example of a skyscraper. Before a big skyscraper is built, all the materials like the concrete are existing as, just as raw materials. And then the big skyscraper is built, and then after many, many decades, then the whole thing has collapsed. In fact, they hire professional pyrotechnicians to destroy. So in the same way, Krishna has hired a very special personality known as Lord Shiva to destroy this material world. In the same way. So therefore, if everything has a beginning, a period of manifestation, and a period of destruction, then Arjuna, why do you have to lament? This is the ultimate result, not just for your relatives, but also for your own body. So why lament? So our bodies are made from these material things currently. But Krishna's body is different. Krishna's body is made up of 3 elements. Sat, Chit, and Ananda. These are 3 constituents. These are 3 substances, 3 realities. Krishna's body is eternal. Krishna's body is full of knowledge. And Krishna's body is full of bliss and Ananda. And because we are part and parcel of Krishna, we also possess these 3 things. Not currently in our material body, but in our actual spiritual body. If you've read the Bhagavad Gita, the beginning part of the Bhagavad Gita, you'll understand there in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is actually talking about the dimensions of the soul. And he explains that the soul is, the dimensions of the soul, your soul right now, within your body, is 1/10,000th the size of the tip of your hair. Balagra shata bhagasya shatada kalpitasya cha. Iti chaha parashruti. The topmost Vedic literatures, after scrutinizing, the sages have understood the truth in their meditation, and they're revealing this truth of the soul within the material body, that if you take the tip of your hair, yes, if you take the tip of your hair and you cut it into 100 pieces, and you take one of those pieces, and again you cut it into 100 pieces, that is the size of that little particle of Satchit Ananda, you, within your body right now. And that soul is so powerful. It's powering your body, it's powering the body of a little ant, It's powering the body of a gigantic banyan tree, of a humongous whale. That's the power of the spiritual energy. And that soul is there right now. But it's compacted within our body presently. Now, did you notice that, okay, if you take a glove, right? This morning it was really cold. My fingers get numb very quickly if it's cold. So sometimes during winter time, especially I remember last year, I was in a place called Ilford. Ilford is a small village about an hour away from Bathurst. Really cold there. Really cold there in winter time. I felt really sorry for the cows and the calves and stuff like that. They just have to stand there in the field day and night, you know. So my fingers were getting numb, so I was wearing gloves, really thick gloves. And even this morning I had to wear some gloves because my fingers were getting numb during chanting. Why does your glove have 5 fingers? It's a very obvious question. Why? Yes, sir. So it will fit on your hand. Your glove has 5 fingers because your hand has 5 fingers, correct? Yes. So in the same way, because your hand has 5 fingers, the glove has 5 fingers. In the same way, your body right now has eyes, has ears, has skin, the ability to feel. It has eyes because your mind has these things as well. Your mental body has these things as well. Close your eyes. Please, everyone, close your eyes. And even though your eyes are closed, please look at Radha Gopinath. Can you see them? Yes? That's because you're seeing them through your mind's eye. That means your mind also has eyes because you're seeing them. You can see your relatives just by closing your eyes. In the same way, you can also hear with your mind as well. Even though you're not hearing your favorite music, still if your mind is focusing, you can hear your favorite song. You can feel with your mind as well. Everything you can do with your 5 senses, you can do with your mind as well. And the fact that you can do these things with your mind is because you can do these things with your soul, with your spiritual body. You have your spiritual body, you have your mental body, and you have your gross body, your physical body. So because your soul originally has these senses, the ability to see, the ability to feel, speak, taste, etc., your mind has these things. And because your mind has these things, your gross body also has these things as well. Right? So Krishna's body is Sat, Chit, Ananda, and our body is also Sat, Chit, Ananda. So that's quality 54. So now we go up to 55. Possessing all mystic perfections. Now there's a branch of yoga called Ashtanga Yoga. And the perfection of Ashtanga Yoga is to realize the presence of the Supersoul, Krishna within the heart. But a byproduct of Ashtanga Yoga is that you get some mystic perfections. In Sanskrit, they're known as Siddhis. Right? And there's 8 different types of Siddhis. Anima, Lagima, Prapti Siddhi, so many. I forget the Sanskrit names, but for example, you can become lighter than the lightest, you can become heavier than the heaviest, smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest. You can create a planet by your own free will. And we see examples of that in the Vedic literature. Who knows the story of Karana Muni and Devahuti? If you have read the Srimad-Bhagavatam, you remember Karana Muni and Devahuti. Karana Muni was a great rishi, great Muni. And Devahuti was the daughter of Manu, Swayambhuva Manu, the first Manu, the first progenitor of mankind in the universe. So Devahuti was his daughter, and somehow by Krishna's arrangement, this rishi, Karana Muni and Devahuti, they became husband and wife. But after many, many years of serving Karana Muni, because he was a rishi, he had a long beard and he was living a really austere life in the forest. So Devahuti, who was a princess, she became really lean and frail and fragile, and her hair became disheveled because she was serving very dedicatedly her husband for so many years. And then she asked her husband that she would like some children. And then what Karana Muni did, through his mystic perfections, he was able to rejuvenate his body and the wife of his body into an ever-fresh youth. So they became ever-fresh youths again. And not only that, because they were living in the forest, which is not very conducive, he actually created a huge, gigantic aerial mansion, a massive vimana, with palaces, with gardens, with fountains, with servants. And Karana Muni and his wife Devhuti, they went there and they enjoyed for many years. And as a result of this, one special avatar of Krishna, his name is Kapila Muni. You may have heard of Kapila Muni. As the Leela goes, he came as the son of Devhuti and Karana Muni. So the point I'm trying to say, another example is Vishwamitra. Who knows the story of Vishwamitra Muni? He's a very famous rishi in Vedic literature. Vishwamitra Muni, he wanted to become, because he was initially a Kshatriya, he was initially a king. But when he saw the power of Vashishta, and Vashishta was a Brahmana, he also he became really determined to become a Brahmana as well. Anyway, the story goes that Vashishta, there was a disciple of Vashishta. His name was Trishanku, and he wanted to ascend to the heavenly planets. But Vashishta said, look, Trishanku, you're not qualified. You can't ascend to the heavenly planets where Indra is, where all the demigods are, in your self-same body. You have to practice some tapasya to qualify yourself to go to the heavenly planets. So Vashishta, his guru, he denied him. I cannot give you this benediction. But Vishwamitra, he wanted to prove himself as a great Brahma Rishi. So he said, don't worry, Trishanku, you come to me. I'll allow you to ascend. So by Vishwamitra's Brahma Tejas, he immediately started raising Trishanku to the heavenly planets. He just started rising in his self-same body. He started rising up to the heavenly planets. And Indra is seeing this, and he's saying, who is this imposter? Who is this unqualified person coming to the heavenly planets? So then Indra pushed him down again. So there was a big battle between Indra and Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra was trying to prove his Brahminical prowess after his thousands of years of tapasya. And poor Trishanku was going up and down, up and down, up and down. And finally, Indra said, because I think they went to Brahma or something. Brahma said, no, he's not qualified. He can't come up here. So then Brahma told Vishwamitra Muni, stop this nonsense. Just listen to me. Trishanku is not qualified. But Vishwamitra said, fine, Brahma may say, Indra may say that you cannot go to heaven. So by my own spiritual prowess, I will create a heavenly planet for you. And that's exactly what Vishwamitra Muni did. He created his own planetary system, heavenly planet, Swargalok, just for Trishanku to enjoy. And it's said that Trishanku is still enjoying there, in that heavenly planet. Now this is the prowess of ordinary jivas, of ordinary people like Vishwamitra Muni or Karana Muni, right? But what to speak of Krishna? One name for Krishna is Yogeshwara. Yes? Ishwara means master or controller. And yoga here refers to the mystic perfections, the Siddhis, that one gets from performing Ashtanga yoga. So Yogeshwar means that person, Krishna, who possesses all these mystic perfections and can award it to other people as well. Just like another name for Krishna is Mukunda. Mukunda means the giver of mukti. And mukti means, what does it mean? Liberation. Yes, mukti means liberation. But Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva cannot give liberation. Just like we have the example of Hiranyakashipu, when he was doing his tapasya, he asked, right, Lord Brahma, give me immortality. In other words, he's saying, give me liberation from material situations. Because as I was explaining before, material situation means birth. You grow for some time, the body starts to dwindle, it dies. So Hiranyakashipu is asking for liberation from this. And I cannot give you this, but I'll give you other benedictions. No one can kill you in the sky or in the land, or, with any weapons, inside or outside, like that. But only Krishna can give liberation. That's why he's known as Mukunda. So in the same way, just as Krishna is known as Mukunda, the only personality that can give liberation, in the same way, he is known as Yogeshwara, the person who can award the mystic perfections of yoga. So this is quality 55, possessing all mystic perfections. Now we're encroaching qualities 56 to 60. And as I mentioned before, these 5 qualities are pertaining to Narayan. Okay, so Krishna has these qualities as well as Narayan in Vaikuntha. So the 56th quality, which Rupa Goswami is explaining in the Nectar of Devotion, is that Krishna has inconceivable potencies. Now, what do we mean by that? Even I don't know what Rupa Goswami means by that. So I'll read what Srila Prabhupada is saying here. Srila Prabhupada is giving the example that while Krishna was talking with Kunti, he simultaneously entered the womb of Uttara, who is in danger due to the atomic weapon of Ashwatthama. Now if you read the first canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam, who has Srimad-Bhagavatam here? Okay, you have an entire set of Srimad-Bhagavatam? Okay, at least the first part? Yes? So Bhagavad Gita, who has Bhagavad Gita? Yes, most people have Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita, please do read it. Like yesterday we were at the Kogra Hall program, one whole program in Kogra, and Ganesham Prabhu, he was giving the class and he was quoting a story by Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj, where Maharaj, he went to some home program at someone's house and gifted them the Bhagavad Gita as it is in a plastic wrapper. And then he came back to the same house after traveling around the world the next year. He came back to the same house in the same country. And he requested, please let me see, give me a copy of the Bhagavad Gita, I want to give a class. And they gave him the exact same Bhagavad Gita that he had gifted him the year before. And it wasn't open, it was still in the same plastic wrapper. So he said, I gave you the Bhagavad Gita as it is to read it, not to keep it as it is. So we should not do that with the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Okay, please read the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Like Gandhi says at the back, if you read what Gandhi is saying at the back of Bhagavad Gita as it is, there's a little excerpt. Gandhi is saying, every day I read one verse from the Bhagavad Gita, and it gives me great hope and great joy. It gives him great realization to continue. Because what to speak of every verse, our acharyas, like the Goswamis, are explaining that Srimad-Bhagavatam, every single syllable of Srimad-Bhagavatam is imbued with love for Krishna, with Krishna Prema. So how powerful it is to read even just one word. Srila Prabhupada said, one word, one sentence, just read something. That's why we are distributing books. We're giving people an opportunity to come in contact with Krishna. And the knowledge which is there in the Bhagavad Gita, many times they're very fortunate to read this, they get convinced. Because when they take the Bhagavad Gita, when they read the Bhagavad Gita, they're in contact with not only what Krishna is saying, but with what all the whole lineage of acharyas, of gurus are saying about Krishna as well. And Krishna's names are there in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's pastimes are there. These qualities which we're discussing are also there mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita as well. If you read the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, you'll see Krishna is mentioning various different qualities there. So everything is there in the Vedic literatures. So please read the Bhagavad Gita, and after you finish reading the Bhagavad Gita, move on to the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Okay? So, yes. So we're coming to the first canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam. So this particular incident happened when, at the end of the whole battle, when practically all the Kurus were dead, and the only surviving descendant of the Pandavas was, does anyone know who he was? Yeah, but specifically in this context, Prabhu, it's Parikshit Maharaj, yes, Parikshit Maharaj. In this context, it's Parikshit Maharaj, and he was there. Parikshit Maharaj is the son of, yes, Abhimanyu and Uttara. Abhimanyu is the son of Arjuna, and Uttara is the wife of Abhimanyu. Right? So Parikshit Maharaj is therefore the grandson of Arjuna. Now Parikshit was there in the womb of his mother Uttara. And this Ashwatthama, in the last attempt to kill the last surviving descendant of the Pandavas, released a Brahmastra. Very deadly weapon, Brahmastra. It's like, you know, the nuclear bomb? It's like that, but it's also a homing missile as well. So it's like a nuclear bomb which comes just after one person. Really terrible. Really ferocious. So Ashwatthama releases this Brahmastra, and it's coming for that embryo in the womb of Uttara, Parikshit Maharaj. And Krishna's inconceivable power is that Krishna entered within the womb of Uttara and shielded Parikshit Maharaj. He shielded that embryo. And as that little baby within the womb, Parikshit Maharaj, he got a glimpse of Krishna within the womb of his mother. And that's why, even though his name was Vishnu Ratha, I think Vishnu Ratha, that's his name, Parikshit Maharaj, the other name for him is Parikshit. And Parikshit comes from the word Pariksha. Pariksha means testing. Parikshit Maharaj, he saw Krishna in the womb of his mother. That's why as soon as he was born and throughout his life, he was testing. Is this person Krishna that I saw in the womb of my mother? Or is this person Krishna? So he's always trying to discern. Who is Krishna? Where is Krishna? That Krishna that I saw. That's why he's known as Parikshit Maharaj. So that's one of the inconceivable potencies of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada here is also mentioning that Krishna can illusion even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. We have a nice picture there. If you have a look at that frame, you see Krishna sitting there, little baby Krishna, and he's surrounded by all these Vishnus. Right? So that's coming from, if you read the Krishna book, please do read the Krishna book as well. It's a good bedtime stories for you, for your children as well. So there's a story of Brahma Vimohan Lila, where Lord Brahma, he saw Krishna one day playing with his cowherd boys, and he said, how can this little boy be the supreme personality of Godhead? So he stole all these cowherd boys, he stole all the calves, and he hid them in a cave. And he thought, let's see what this little cowherd boy does now. And what did Krishna do? He manifested himself, because of his inconceivable potencies, into each one of these thousands of cowherd boys and calves, looking exactly like them. For one entire year. Brahma just disappeared. He went back to Brahmaloka and he came back. According to his calculations, he came back in 1 moment. But in Earth planet, that 1 moment of Brahma was like 1 year. So 1 year Krishna was manifesting these pastimes perfectly. Krishna was not disturbed in any way. His pleasure, his enjoyment was not baffled in any way. Right? So what happened is that finally Brahma, he comes back after a moment and he sees Krishna is still enjoying pastimes with the very same cowherd boys which he thought that he initially stole. And then that's when Krishna shows Brahma this beautiful vision that actually these cowherd boys are actually Krishna himself. So Krishna bewildered Brahma. We know that Krishna also bewildered Lord Shiva when Lord Shiva wanted to see the Mohini incarnation of Krishna. Krishna in the form of a woman, a very attractive woman, who came during the Samudran Manthanila when the demigods and the demons were churning the milk ocean. At that time, Mohini Murti, Vishnu herself, came as the most beautiful woman. And she had the nectar, the amrita, which the demigods and the demons were after. And because of her beauty, she bewildered the demons and she got the nectar and she gave it to the devatas, the demigods. So Lord Shiva one day asked Krishna, I would like to see that incarnation of yours. And it's mentioned in the Srimad-Bhagavatam that Krishna knew what was going to happen. It's there in the 8th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam. So Krishna gave this really wry smile, this really smirk to Lord Shiva. And then he exhibited his form as Mohini Murti, and you'll read about it. Shiva gets totally bewildered. Right in front of his wife Parvati, Shiva starts running after Mohini Murti. Like that. So it's a very nice pastime there. There's more we can talk about, but we'll go to the next one, 57. And we're not going to finish all 64. We're up to 57. So I think there'll need to be one more class to finish all 64 qualities. But anyway, quality 57, Krishna's body generates innumerable universes. Where's that picture? Is it at the back there? Yes, it's all the way at the back. So after this class, if you can't see it right now, please go and have a look at that picture. Krishna's body generates innumerable universes. We have it's a Facebook page. It's also a YouTube page as well. So some of the monks, when they were traveling around Australia, we have a YouTube page. It's called The Happy Jiva. Jiva, J-I-V-A. So if you have your smartphones right now, I really encourage you to please go to this YouTube page, The Happy Jiva, and please subscribe to the channel. And you'll see there one of the recent videos is who is Vishnu and who is Krishna. Isn't it? When I was growing up, there was sort of this confusing aspect to Vishnu and Krishna. Most people, even if you watch the TV serials that are coming from India, they'll portray that all the avatars are coming from Vishnu and that Krishna is just one of the avatars of Vishnu. Right? But actually it's quite the opposite. Krishna is the original Vishnu. And this is confirmed by Lord Brahma in Brahma Samhita. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Ishvara Parama Krishna. He's saying out of all controllers, and remember, Lord Vishnu is one of the chief controllers of this material universe. You have Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. So, but he's saying that out of all of these, Krishna is the supreme controller. Now, Krishna, you know, there's a story of this German Indologist, and he went to India. I don't know if I said this last time. Maybe I said it 2 weeks ago. But it's relevant here again. That he went to India and he wanted to try and figure out, there's 330 million gods in the Vedic culture. Who is the supreme? Is there any supreme? So he went to various temples. He went to a temple of Durga and, you know, Surya and all the Shiva and all these different temples. And he saw that in each one of the temple, each one of the deity was actually doing something. I think I did say this, right? So Lakshmi, she's giving wealth. Durga, she's killing. Is it Mahishasur that she's standing on? Yes? With a trident. Lord Shiva, what is he doing? What is Lord Shiva usually doing? If you see a picture of Lord Shiva. Sorry? Oh, okay. He's dancing, yes. Tandava Nritya. The dance that Lord Shiva performs at the end of the universal annihilation with his Dumuru, is that what you call it? Dumuru? Yes? There's a nice story of Banasur and Lord Shiva in Srimad-Bhagavatam, which comes to mind. But yes, so he's doing that. But also, usually Lord Shiva is meditating, right? He's got his eyes half closed and he's meditating with some Rudraksha beads. And Srimad-Bhagavatam explains that Lord Shiva is actually chanting Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This is what Lord Shiva is chanting. He's meditating on Krishna in his aspect as Sankarshan. This is why Lord Shiva is known as Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. Out of all the Vaishnavas, Lord Shiva is the topmost Vaishnava because he's constantly meditating on his Lord and Master Krishna, Sankarshan, Rama, Balarama. So, he went to India, this Indologist from Germany, and he saw that all these different deities and different temples were doing something. They were performing some function. But when he went to a temple of Lord Krishna, what is Gopinath doing there on the altar? He's dancing. Can you see that he's dancing? He's got a flute in his hand and he's smiling. He's just enjoying. And that's all that Krishna does. Just like Ganesham was mentioning yesterday in the class. Krishna is all play and no work. Isn't it? So the spiritual world is like that. It's all play and no work. Now, who here can say that they actually like working? You, sir. Wow. Very nice. What do you do? I think we must all take your occupation. Finance. Very good. Sometimes I ask people when they say that, because it becomes enjoyment. Yes, that is true as well.
So anybody can be that
Yeah. One thing is though, if you're not paid for it, you probably wouldn't want to work anymore. So that reason is there as well. Sure, sure. Thank you. So Krishna is, but you get my point, right? Krishna is all play and no work. So in the spiritual world it's explained that every step is a dance and every word is a song. Everything that you do there in the spiritual world brings bliss to Krishna, brings bliss to the individual as well. So he said that definitely out of all these millions and millions of different demigods, Krishna must be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he's the only one that's enjoying, whereas everyone else, they're doing some function. So what I want to say quickly before Hemang Chaitanya Prabhu comes for the next class. So we'll be having another class from 6 to 7, and then we'll have Gora Arti after that. So Krishna, because he's a supreme enjoyer, he's enjoying in the spiritual world, but Vishnu, he's actually performing a function in the material world. And this function is the function of maintenance. Lord Shiva is destroying, Lord Vishnu is maintaining, and Lord Brahma is creating. Right? So these are functions, these are occupations which these three deities are doing within the confinement of the material world, in each material universe. So Lord Krishna, he doesn't want to directly maintain this material world, so he expands himself into three Vishnus. The first Vishnu is Karana Vishnu or Mahavishnu, and that's the Vishnu that you will see there on that frame. So again, after this class, please go and have a look at that picture. And as explained that this Vishnu is so humongous, so huge, that from each pore of his body, a material universe is coming out as he's breathing out. As he breathes out, universes are emanating from each one of his pores. And as he breathes in again, they retract, they come back into his body. This is the first Vishnu, Mahavishnu. When he breathes out and the universes come into existence from each one of his pores, this same Mahavishnu again expands himself and goes into each one of these universes as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. So this form of Vishnu, so this is the second expansion of Vishnu. Garbhodakashayi Vishnu is lying at the bottom of each universe on the Anantashesh, on the bed of Anantashesh, and it is from this particular Vishnu, from his navel, grows a lotus flower, and on the top of this lotus flower is Lord Brahma. Right? So Vishnu is the original supplier of material ingredients. He's like the raw material supplier. And Lord Brahma, he's like the engineer. He's like the architect. So Lord Brahma, he's the secondary creator. He takes these raw materials like earth, fire, air, water, ether. These are all raw materials which Krishna himself is giving. And then he takes these and then he engineers these universes. So Lord Brahma, he creates the planets. He creates the bodies of the living entities according to their desires in their previous life, like that. So he does all these things. Then, this goes back to the all-cognizant aspect of Krishna. This Garbhodakashayi Vishnu then expands himself again. And where does he go this time? He goes into your own heart. So inside your heart right now is you, the individual soul, and right next to you is Krishna as well. And I was seeing some video some time back. It was a play which was filmed by some devotees from Chaupadi or something like that. And it's very simple but very instructive as well. So there was a Gurukul teacher, and he had 4 disciples. And 3 of the disciples sort of used to make fun of this one really sincere disciple. So one day the Guru asked the Shishyas, the disciples, I'm going to give you each a banana. So you take this banana and you make sure that no one sees you eating this banana. Right? So the first disciple, he runs off somewhere into the forest and makes sure there's no one in the forest, and he eats the banana. And the second disciple, he covers himself with his chadar and he eats the banana under his chadar. The third disciple, he goes into a river and he holds his breath and he goes underwater and he eats the banana underwater. The last disciple, what does he do? Does he eat the banana? He doesn't eat the banana. He comes back. And the other 3 disciples, they proudly come back to their spiritual master and say, look, we made sure that we ate the banana without anyone looking. But the 4th disciple says, my dear Guru, my dear spiritual master, I went to so many places, but there was no place where Krishna wasn't watching me. Because ultimately Krishna is there in my heart, Krishna is there inside every atom, Krishna is there within every atom as well. That's why Krishna is all cognizant. The example given in the Katha Upanishad is that of 2 birds. And these 2 birds are sitting on a branch of a tree. We, the individual soul, is one of these birds, and Krishna as Paramatma is the other bird. And I'll finish with this example, because Himang Chaitambru is here as well. Now this tree that the birds are sitting on has different fruits. And these fruits have 2 flavors, material happiness and material distress. One of the birds, the jiva, the individual soul, us, is busy tasting the fruits of material happiness and distress. And we're completely bewildered and amazed by these tastes. Sometimes the fruit of happiness tastes nice. Sometimes the fruit, when we bite into it, it tastes bitter. And then we try to find another fruit. Maybe if I try this fruit, it might be sweet. We keep trying for material happiness. But Krishna, as the other bird, is simply watching his friend. And he's simply waiting there on the branch. And he's thinking to himself, when will this bird, my friend, my dearmost friend, stop his business or her business of eating the fruits of happiness and distress and just take the time to turn to me and have a relationship with me? This is Krishna's desire. If you read Bhagavad Gita, that's what Krishna is saying to Arjuna. This is Krishna's desire. He wants us to surrender to him, to have a loving relationship with Krishna. And we have that very prime opportunity in the form of this Archa Vigraha, Radha Gopinath. Krishna is made of spirit, but he has mercifully made himself visible in the form of his deity. So the same activities that we are doing with Krishna in the spiritual world, we can do with Krishna here with us. We can bathe Krishna, we can decorate Krishna, we can feed Krishna, we can talk to Krishna. Right? So this is a very good training ground for us to develop our relationship with Krishna. So please take this seriously. Please develop your eternal relationship with Radha Gopinath. They're your dearmost mother and father. And to consolidate that knowledge, to consolidate that relationship, the reading of Transcendental Knowledge, Srila Prabhupada's books, is most essential. So again, I say if you don't have a copy of the Nectar Devotion, please come and see me, or you can have a look at our book table outside. And please do read Bhagavad Gita, Srimad-Bhagavatam next, and there's the postgraduate study to that, the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But we won't get into that in this class. Thank you for listening. Shri Radha Gopinath ki jai. We don't have time, sorry. Shri Radha Gopinath ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hare Krishna. So please stay seated. We have another class coming up next.
They